Good morning, Emily. Nice to be with you and your listeners this morning.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So what's your biggest concern around this budget?
Well, this budget is more of the same. It is a massive bonfire of deficits as far as the eye can see, and it's a litany of broken promises. Just 6 months ago, Mr. Carney promised to keep the deficit at no more than $62 billion. It's $78 billion. He promised to lower the debt to GDP ratio, something the Liberals have for 10 years tied themselves to. He's raising it. In fact, it is now well beyond what even Justin Trudeau had the debt to GDP ratio at. He promised to spend less. He's spending $90 billion more. He promised to help municipalities cut their home building taxes in half. He's broken that promise as well. The housing affordability crisis is going to continue. And he promised more investment, but his budget reveals that investment in this country is collapsing.
Well, we just heard the finance minister's rationale for that $78 billion deficit. He says the government had to act in the face of economic uncertainty in the U.S. or else it would put important social programs and capital investments at risk. What do you make of that argument?
And Mr. Champagne created a straw man on the other side saying the world would collapse. But I go back to what the Liberals did 30 years ago in 19.
But that was really different. 30 years ago, we didn't have this relationship with the U.S.
Well, first of all, Mr. Carney said he was going to have this problem solved. And the economic uncertainty in the mid-1990s was not good as well. But in fact, we saw by getting spending under control, lowering the cost on business, lowering the cost on families, reducing taxes, the economy grew. This budget is all about command and control, government spending, a program for everything. In the case of housing, we have multiple federal programs as opposed to actually home building. And the bottom line, though, what this budget fails to do, absolutely fails to do, is provide any relief to struggling families, pensioners, or the 2.2 million people, Canadians, that are lining up every month at a food bank. There is no talk of help or reducing the affordability crisis that's been hanging over this country over the last couple of years.
But there is a lot of new spending in
as well. Let me just say one other thing about the investment. The budget itself says that if our growth had just maintained the growth with the U.S. over the last 6 years, between 2017 and 2023, every family would be $11,000 wealthier today. This is an admission that this liberal tax and spend policy over the last decade has failed, and we're seeing more of that on offer today.
Well, I think there's a lot of different issues, though, that have come up in that time, especially pressure around the housing crisis. And there's a lot of new spending in areas like local infrastructure and housing. Aren't those measures to help build up communities critical for that economic growth and improving affordability?
But they won't work. We've seen this government's been focused on housing for years now, and housing starts are lower now than they have been historically. Don't forget, this is a government, because they spent so much in the past, drove up inflation, drove up the price of homes with easy money that was printed by the Bank of Canada. So we're seeing more of that today, not less. Not a decision to get prices under control. And the Liberals are going to measure success by how much they spend, not by the results they've delivered to Canadians. And in terms of housing, they have been talking about this with very, very poor results. And now they're saying we're going to throw more money at it, create an even larger bureaucracy to manage this file, as opposed to delivering incentives and to builders to actually build. They broke their own promise to cut in half home building taxes. This was not in the budget, which means it's going to continue to be very expensive to build homes in this country.
Okay. The budget also includes measures to make Canadian businesses more competitive. Isn't there value in that kind of investment, considering the state of our relationship with our largest trading partner? You know, there's incentives, tax incentives to build new facilities, for example. Couldn't that help get some more money flowing?
Well, look, every budget's going to contain some measures. It's like a clock. It'll be right twice a day. So the government, in terms of business taxes, have aligned with tax changes that have happened in the U.S. This is something that that we've supported and think is a right move. But that's the point, bringing down taxes. But taxes shouldn't just come down for businesses. Taxes should also come down for households and individuals who are facing the affordability crunch as well.
Okay. All right.
Can I say as well, here's just one number to leave with your listeners. The GST collects $55 billion in revenue. This year, we're going to spend $54 billion in debt interest, which means every time we pay that GST, HST, all that money to the federal government is going to pay bondholders. Similarly, we transfer, this is the federal government, $54 billion a year in health to health services across the country. We're now paying more debt interest than we are in health transfers. That is what a decade of deficit spending has realized for Canadians. All the GST money goes to debt interest, and that debt interest payment is now higher than what we spend on health care at the federal level every single year. That is a record of failure.
Okay, we'll get back to those economic concerns in a moment, but in the meantime, the numbers in the House have changed. Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont announced yesterday he's crossing the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals. Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. Look, 6 months ago, Chris was elected on a platform to make life more affordable Canadians for smaller deficits and to strengthen the economy. And he's now walked over to the Liberals and he's broken his promises. I mean, in some measures, given the litany of broken promises I just mentioned about Mr. Carney, he's maybe in the camp that will receive him. But I view him as someone who campaigned on ideas that I think resonated with his voters. He was been elected now 3 times, and he's decided to cross over to Liberals. And you know about as much as I do. I think his voters are going to be disappointed, and I know I think a lot of his colleagues in Nova Scotia will be as well.
He does say though that he spoke to his constituents and that he felt that was the best decision.
Well, if he thinks that's the case, he should resign, trigger a by-election, and put that to the test. I suspect Chris will not be a member of Parliament after the next election. He will be defeated if he runs there again. This is a riding that has been voting Conservative the last three elections, and he managed to hang on in the last one. And now he's decided to throw in his lot with the Liberals for reasons that I don't really understand.
And his move will leave the Liberals just 2 seats shy of a majority. What does that mean for your party?
I don't think it means anything much for our party. We're ready to hold this government accountable. It's Mr. Carney who has to find the votes in Parliament to see his budget through. I don't think Canadians want a Christmas election, but I remember when Stephen Harper was in office, it's up to the government to get its legislation through Parliament. So they'll have to try to find the votes, and I guess they found one with Mr. D'Entremont. We'll see what they promised him to, if anything, to cross the floor. But we're ready to hold this government accountable as we've been doing.
And the budget promises to spend less on day-to-day operating. The Liberals say this new discipline will help protect social benefits. Isn't that kind of commitment to efficiency in keeping with your Conservative ideals?
It's certainly a step in the right direction, but these are baby steps. Let's just put the numbers in perspective. We're talking $13 billion on a $50 billion federal budget. A lot more could be done to get waste, overlap, and duplication under control in Ottawa. So this makes a nod to a bloated civil service in Ottawa, but it does nothing that fundamentally transforms government. And going back to what I said off the top, that is precisely what the Chrétien Liberals did 30 years ago. At a time of crisis, when we were under a huge debt burden that had been really hurting the economy, the Wall Street Journal had referred to us as an honorary member of the third world, where our debts were so high. The Chrétien government retooled government. They looked at it from top to bottom to find efficiencies, and in 3 short years, they had a huge deficit balance, and we saw great economic growth flow from that. This government fails to do all this. This is more of the same, more high spending, high deficits that are going to keep sleepwalking us or zombie walking us into more of the same, with low housing starts and high prices on too many families and small businesses right across this country.
Well, they're talking in the neighborhood of 40,000 cuts to the public civil service. You're saying that's not going far enough?
I'm saying there's a lot more to do when it comes to reforming government. What programs are no longer delivering on results? What can government do that is more efficient? And there's a lot more than just taking out the scalpel and cutting numbers if you still got the overall overhead. There's a lot of programs that aren't delivering results, including many of the housing programs the Liberals have been talking about the last couple of years, at the same time as we fail to see housing starts increase in this country.
And the budget also includes a pledge to drastically reduce immigration targets, something your party has also called for, to cap immigration. Does that help move the needle for your party?
Well, again, there are going to be elements in the budget that we've called for that the Liberals have decided to reverse themselves on. It was Justin Trudeau who himself said that the federal government, the Liberal government, got it wrong, and they have to correct the number of Canadians or people that are coming into Canada. So again, these are steps in the right direction. And it's not just us. I think it's something like 70 or 80% of Canadians think we've just gotten the immigration system is out of whack. So again, on the right track, but we have to look at the backdrop. What's it actually doing for Canadians, voters, households, families, young families trying to buy homes, working families that are struggling to survive, seniors that can't pay the heat, the medicine, and the food bill every single month.
So given all of this, will you be supporting the budget, Mr. Williamson?
I will not be supporting the budget. This is a budget, I think, as it's not a common sense budget. It fails on the affordability test. This is a budget that Conservatives will not support.
And a lot of people are wondering when they hear you say this, does the Conservative Party want a snap election?
No. But if we have an election, that's up to the Prime Minister and the government to get its legislation through Parliament.
You don't want a snap election. I think a lot of people were under the impression that the Conservatives would like that.
Well, if we have an election, we'll have an election because of Mr. Carney's failures. We're ready for an election. I don't think Canadians want a Christmas election, but if we have one, we're going to stand by our principles. We're going to stand by the things we promised to do. And Mr. Carney has failed to reach out to any of the political leaders in the opposition bench to find support. So it's up to him now to get his bill through Parliament.
And we've only got about a minute left, but you've gone back to the affordability question. What kind of measures would you have liked to see in the budget to achieve that?
Well, right off the bat, getting rid of the industrial carbon tax, getting rid of the fuel standard tax, which these things are driving up the price of energy. We know these taxes impact us, especially here in New Brunswick, because the Susan Holt government is doing whatever she can to get that tax surcharge that Ottawa has put on the emitters off the retail receipts of motorists. We know these hidden taxes exist. They tax the price of food up. They tax the steel and concrete that goes into home and housing construction and business construction. There's a number of taxes that we're currently paying that are getting more expensive every single year, like the previous carbon tax directly on consumers. These ones are growing every year. Only they hit businesses, and of course, businesses pass on these taxes to consumers. In addition to that, we'll be proposing a number of amendments in the House of Commons at committee in the coming weeks as well to hopefully improve this budget.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Williamson. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. And I'll say this as well. If the Liberals accept some of our amendments, that could change our posture, but we're a long way from that right now. It's my pleasure to join you, your listeners, again.
Okay, well, keep an eye on it all, and hopefully we'll talk to you again. Thank you so much. That was John Williamson, the Conservative MP for St. John, St. Croix. We did request an interview with St. John Kennebecasis MP Wayne Long, who's with the Liberals, but he was not available this morning.